PTE Academic Listening. Let's get straight into it, guys. Alrighty, tighty. So let's talk about PTE Academic Listening. So as usual, there'll be a tutorial and then I'll go through all the question types. But first, I gotta tell you all the things that we're gonna cover in our tute today. Of course, we're gonna talk about general information about the listening part of the test. And you need to remember that there are 12 questions that score listening, but only 8 in the listening part of the test. Next, we're going to talk about all the listening question types. We're going to cover which question types are the most important. And for the most important ones, of course, I'm going to give you the what? The techniques and methods. Okay? So, what you need to know about the PT academic listening test. The listening part of the test is the final part of the test, also known as part 3. Now, part 3 can range from 30 to 43 minutes, with 10 minutes out of that being only for summarized spoken text. Okay? There is only one question type in part 3 with fixed timing, and again, it is summarized spoken text. Now, you will find that candidates and test takers, especially if you're a tutor yourself, they are very stressed and tired by the end of the test, and they are struggling to focus and concentrate. Okay? Quite a few of my students are unable to complete all the final question types, which is highlight incorrect words and write from dictation. So obviously we need to build stamina and endurance towards the end so that we are able to answer every single question. Okay? Of the 8 question types in the listening part of the test, so there are a total of 12 question types that contribute to listening score, but of the 8 in the listening test, 4 assess 2 skills, right? The other interesting thing you need to know is that the most important question types for listening are not in part 3, they're actually in part 1, in the speaking part of the test for summarize group discussion and repeat sentence. So that's just the reality of it. You have to realize that PTE has 22 different question types. Of the 22, 8 mark 2 skills. Of those 8, right, a lot of them contribute to listening. Okay, now let's take a look-see at the score, at the question types. Okay, so let's talk about all the questions that contribute to your final listening score. Okay, as you can see on the right hand side, I've written the rank of importance. Okay, the single most important question for listening is actually summarized group discussion. Okay, so you will see that there are 4 questions in part 1 in the speaking part of the test that contribute to your listening score. They are repeat sentence, retell lecture, answer short question, and summarize group discussion. After that, you have the standard 8 questions in the listening part of the test. They are summarize spoken text, multiple choice questions, multiple answers, fill in the blanks, typing in, highlight correct summary, multiple choice single answer, select missing word, highlight incorrect words, and write from dictation. Okay, now let's look at order of importance. The most important question type for your listening is summarize group discussion, followed by repeat sentence, followed by retell lecture, and only then write from dictation, right? Summarize spoken text contributes greatly to your writing, but it's only the 5th most important question type for listening. Okay? Then we have number 6. Where's number 6? Here we are. Highlight incorrect words, followed by fill in the blanks, typing in, and then the less important ones, which are answer short question, which contributes only 4% to your final listening score. And then we have highlight correct summary, multiple choice, multiple answer, multiple choice, single answer, and the single most unimportant question is select missing word. Okay, so that's the one where you hear recording and then the final words are beeped out. You need to click on the correct option. Let's talk about the most important question types. Of the 12 most important question types, I'm going to focus on 7. They are summarize group discussion, repeat sentence, retell lecture, write from dictation, summarize spoken text, highlight incorrect words, and listening fill in the blanks. Now you will see in this tute that I will repeat quite a bit of information that I shared on the PTE focus series for speaking. They will be the summarized group discussion questions, the repeat sentence questions, and the retell lecture questions. Right? So the notes are going to be the same, but for those of you who are specifically watching for listening, we're going to go through every question type. The first thing you will hear when we go through this tute is what you need to know, how the question is scored, and then I will cover the method. All right. I think I'm moving a bit fast, but you guys are used to me now. Okay? Did I introduce myself? My name is Rena, and I'm a tutor based in Perth, Western Australia, and that's all you need to know. Okay, let's get on with it, shall we? Now, the question types you can choose to practice when you have mastered the top 7 most important question types are answer short question, listening multiple choice multiple answer, highlight correct summary, listening multiple choice single answer, and select missing words. On this slide, you can see that I've given you the percentage to that it contributes to the final listening score and the number of times you will have to answer this question. Okay, of the 5 that you see here, only one is found in part 1, and it is the answer short question. But don't worry, answer short question does not contribute to your speaking score, it only contributes to your listening score. Okay, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about summarized group discussion. Right, summarized group discussion. What do we need to know? It is the second most important question type in the entire test. Okay, it contributes to 19% of your final speaking score and 20% of your final listening score. Right? You will have to listen to 2 to 3 discussions of 3 people. Each recording is a minimum of 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes, and it's almost always a conversation between 3 people. Okay? They don't all speak at the same time, but the conversation bounces back from one speaker to the other. As soon as that recording is done, you have a 10-second timer to prepare a summary. You are then given 2 minutes to speak. Okay. So once again, this is a 655 type question, which you will see quite often in the speaking focus series. 6 for content, 5 for pronunciation, 5 for fluency. Your aim is to get 16 points. Okay? Now, how do we answer this question type? I think pretty much every tutor has the same method. The only thing you need to decide is how you want to go about presenting your material. Okay, and remember with me, content is king. I really place heavy emphasis on content instead of fluency. Right. So, the instant you see that it's an SGD question, you are going to prepare to write notes. Okay, lots of tutors do it the same way. You're going to split your notepad into 3 separate spaces. Those of you who are happy to use an erasable notepad, you do the same thing. You're going to split into 3. As soon as the recording begins, start writing. Whatever words you catch from a single speaker, write it in his or her space. As the conversation jumps from one speaker to the other, you're going to keep filling up this individual space as you go along with as much nonsense, absolute rubbish as you can, right? Quite often in these conversations, you will hear important information like, I will come to your office tomorrow, feelings, I feel stressed, opinions, I think it is important to do something. Quite often you will hear these things. It doesn't really matter how much of it you write down. The important thing is that you get used to hearing multiple people speaking and conversing amongst each other. I like it when my students catch at least 65% of the total content of what was said, right? And then you've got 10 seconds. In the 10 seconds, all you need to do is review your notes, okay? Quickly skim through what you have written. And quite often, if you have really bad handwriting, you have no content. So you need to be able to read your own writing, and this is really, really important. And I always start off with an introductory sentence. 3 students were talking about how they failed an exam. 2 students were talking to a counselor about final exams. In the 10 seconds, you're also going to plan the order in which you talk about each speaker. Okay? Another thing I have noticed, especially with when results are coming through, is that you cannot just randomly spit out information. You're going to have to say speak the first speaker, or if there's a name like Charlotte or Angela or whatever, Angela said bup bup bup, right? You need to number one, say something for every speaker, and the other thing is you can't mix too much of what they're saying. Next, because you are in a rush to read your very, very messy handwriting, I find that people, my students especially, stop speaking clearly, right? Because they're so worried about speaking correctly. This question type does not test grammar. It is a 655. 6 for content. The neighborhood kookaburras are a bit excited. 6 for content, 5 for pronunciation, and 5 for fluency. Okay? Nowhere in that are they testing your grammar. So go forth and be brave. Bravely and confidently speak in whichever way you'd like, but as long as it is clear, no one is marking your grammar. Okay? Try to speak for at least a minute and a half. 2 minutes is great. I mean, not everybody can hit that, but I don't really mind. But if you found that you have caught at least 65% of what was said, you're almost certainly going to speak for more than a minute and a half. Okay? And that's all I have to say about the thing. Let's go on to repeat sentence. Righto. So, what do you need to know? This is the third most important question type. It contributes to 16% of your final speaking score and 17% of your final listening score. It is the second question type. You will have to do this 10 to 12 times. I think my current range of what I'm seeing is students are doing it about 10 times. Each sentence can range from 8 to 12 words. Shush, guys. In a in length. Okay, so about 5 seconds in length. As soon as the recording has finished playing, you will hear a beep, and then you will have to repeat the sentence that you heard. Again, this is a 355, so it's not a 655. It's 3 for content, 5 for pronunciation, and 5 for fluency. Your aim is to get 13. What they don't tell you is because fluency and pronunciation seem to matter just that little bit more, it doesn't matter in which order you deliver content. So if you have heard the train left the station at 9:30 and you say at 9:30 the train left the station, it's still correct. AI catches every single word as clearly as it can, right? And if you have spoken clearly, it will understand what you've said. Okay? Simples, right? So, let's talk about this method. Now, I've talked about this before. This is the one question where the Versant tech is failing a little bit because it is inherently flawed. What you're going to do is you're going to prepare to listen, no notes, don't move your body, you're going to keep nice and still. You're going to listen to the entire sentence as carefully as possible, and it's okay not to understand, right? As soon as you hear the beep, you say every word that you can remember. It does not matter in which order you say it, and it only matters that you are fluent, right? Just repeat as carefully as you can every word that you do remember. The situation here is that quite often, and I think there are quite a few tutors online who will teach you to do this, they teach you to say English like words. So you just say whatever you can, however you can. No, that was not the intention of this question type. But somehow the AI is picking up English like words instead of the exact words. Okay, and this is a flaw of this question type. So really, if you're not doing too well on this question type, please don't beat yourself up. It is not a true representation of how good your English proficiency is or how high your English proficiency is. Okay, so guess what I did? I thought I pressed record and I hadn't. So I just went on with the whole tune. I thought the camera was on and it was recording and it didn't record anything. So here we are on another day, doing it all over again. We stopped at repeat sentence. We're going to continue on to the next one, which is retell a lecture. Okay. So what do you need to know? It is the type in the speaking part of the test, and it contributes equally 13%. 13% to speaking and 13% to listening, right? And only 6% to your final overall score. What will you hear? You will hear a lecture or a talk of up to 90 seconds, and then you are given 10 seconds to prep and 40 seconds to give a recap or a summary of that chat or that talk. You'll have to do this question type 2 to 3 times. One interesting aspect about learning on practicing on the practice websites and platforms is that quite often the lectures that you will hear are more than 1.5 minutes. But according to Pearson, it's a maximum of 90 seconds only. Okay, so how is this question type scored? Similar to Summarize group discussion, it is a 655. Content is king. 6 for content, 5 for fluency, 5 for pronunciation. Your aim is to get 16 points. Now, what is the best method? It is similar to Summarize group discussion. Remember that I strongly believe in content, so I expect you to write down as much as you can. Okay? So your eyes are fixed and focused on the pen and paper, whatever that you're going to do. Your hand is ready to write. Your ears and attention is fully ready to receive information. The minute you see the question pop up with the instruction, you are ready to write. And as soon as the speaker starts speaking, write down everything you can. Okay, and by everything you can, I don't mean write down tiny words like he is small, and. I'm talking about large chunks of words that you hear. For example, the bus stop was constructed in 2029. You're going to write bus stop constructed 2029, right? And write as much as you can. Once again, if you catch about 65% of the total content, you're going to be able to talk about this for well over 40 seconds. Okay? So, if you've written lots on your paper, then how do you compile it? Don't forget, if we look back at how this question type is scored, it is not scored for grammar, it is not scored for cohesion. It is, however, scored for content, pronunciation, and fluency. To maintain fluency, you need to drop all ideas of having perfect grammar. You're not being assessed on grammar, okay? So you're going to combine this word soup into short, quick sentences. It was constructed in 2029, whatever. There is no need for logic, there is no need for correct grammar, there's no need for coherence. It doesn't need to make sense. Okay? They say there's a human assessor for 7 of the total questions out of 22. I don't know. Again, the human assessor is assessing content, not grammar, so it doesn't matter how perfectly you speak, as long as you are very clear and very consistent and fluent. Okay? Your main job is to focus on delivering as much content as fluently as possible. Okay, let's move on to the next important one, which is the single most important question type in the listening part of the test. Okay, so all those other questions that we just covered were all in part one, the speaking part of the test. Now we're moving on finally to the listening part of the test. Okay, what you need to know is that you have been sitting in that seat for 2.5 hours, and this is the final question type. Okay, it contributes both to your listening and your writing. Funnily, it contributes less to your listening than it does to your writing. 23% of your final writing score comes from write from dictation. 13% of your final listening score comes from write from dictation. Okay? Every single time you will hear a sentence between 3 and 5 seconds in length, and you will have to do this, and you have to retype the entire sentence as you heard it 3 to 4 times. Okay? Now, let's look at how the question type is marked, because if you know how it's marked, you can use it to your advantage. So, unlike questions like highlight incorrect word, which we will talk about later, this one is positive marking only. For every correct word that you write, you get +1. There is no negative marking, so there's no negatives, and they don't take away points for every wrong word you write. The AI is strictly just scanning the text that you wrote for the correct words. That's all it's looking for. Okay? So, there is a method to this madness. As usual, your eyes need to be focused on only one thing, either the keyboard or the screen. If you're a really fast typer, you're probably looking at the screen. But if you're a slow typer, you're looking at your keyboard. Okay? You're going to prepare the cursor and be ready to type, right? Be ready to listen. You are going to type the entire sentence as you hear it, with mistakes, with half or partial words, with abbreviations, with single letters. I want you to type as much and as fast as you can with no pressing the backspace and no pressing the spacebar. Nothing. No deletions, no spacebars. You just type. all in one line. Okay? Once the recording has finished, now you go ahead and make corrections. You make sure there's spaces between words, you fix the spelling, and once you have made as many corrections as you can, you're going to reread the sentence that you have constructed. If it sounds wrong, you are going to add alternatives. For example, you can't recall if it was shop or shops. You're going to write both. You can't recall if it was in or and. You're going to write both. Okay? You're going to reread the sentence and check that every word that you have written has been spelled correctly. Okay? That's all you got to do. Don't waste more than 2.5 minutes on each question type because, again, if you see that you have reached the end of the test and you only ended up doing two right from dictations, that means you did not quite complete the test. You ran out of time. Okay? Your aim is to do 3 to 4 right from dictations. Okay? All right. Let's move on to the next more important question type in the listening part of the test. And this is the only fixed time question that we've got. Summarize spoken text. Okay, it is not the most important type of question type, obviously, but it contributes 10% of your final listening score. And here's the kicker: 18% to your final writing score. So we had 23% for right from dictation and now 18% from summarized spoken text. Okay, there is only one summarized spoken text question. You've got 10 minutes to do it. It is the only fixed time question type in the listening part of the test. And what you will hear is 10 minutes to listen to a 60 to 90-second recording. After and the timer starts as soon as the recording starts playing. From there, you will then have to write a 50 to 70 word summary. Now, this is really important because students often get mixed up with summarized written text and think, oh my goodness, I need to write one long sentence. No, you don't. Let's look at how it's marked and find out what's the best method for us. Okay? So you get 4 for content, 2 for form, 2 for grammar, 2 for vocabulary, and 2 for spelling. So your total aim is to get 12 marks. Okay? How do we get the maximum number of marks? So I'm talking about between 10 and 12, right? First thing is you have to have perfect form. Write between 50 and 70 words. Next, how do we get full marks for grammar? So 2 out of 2 for grammar. Use simple sentences only. So you are going to introduce sentences that are so simple that there are no grammatical errors in it. For example, John has a ball. That's it. You don't have to write and sometimes, therefore, hence, moreover. Don't complicate it. You want perfect grammar? Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it sweet. Okay, so we're talking 50 to 70 words of multiple short sentences. Okay, spelling. Now, a lot of you just can't avoid the spelling mistakes. So assume that you're going to get 1 or 0 for spelling, which is fine because for every single mistake, they take away 1, and once you've made more than 2 mistakes, it's 0. 4 for content. Again, content is king, and I strongly believe in content. But how do we collect content? Because some of you believe that writing is faster, and some of you believe that typing is faster. Okay? So, what's the method? You're going to prepare to type in the answer box, but if you can write faster than you type, prepare to write. As soon as the recording begins, you are going to write down as much as possible. Again, content is king. I want you to write down large chunks of information or phrases. As much as you can. It does not need to make sense. It does not need to be logical. It does not need to be perfectly spelled at this stage. Your job is just to type or to write as much as you hear. Do not attempt to fix or make deletions or make corrections while the recording is playing. Okay? Just type or write as much as you can without stopping. Don't pause for a second. Okay? Once the recording is finished, then we inhale and we exhale, and we're going to compile the word soup again into short, simple, grammatically correct sentences. No bullshit introductions. Don't listen to anybody who tells you, oh, you need to write. The lecture was about blah, blah, blah. The speaker then said blah. No. Maximum delivery of content requires you to drop and stop using all templates and just deliver the content. Okay? So all you're going to write, so instead of saying the speaker spoke about, you're just going to write conservation. Conservation of the environment is important, and we don't have to refer to the speaker. You're just going to write the notes, and that's all I need you to do. Okay? The speaker then mentioned, forget that crap. We want 50 to 70 words of pure, high quality content, short, simple, grammatically correct sentences. Okay? You're going to keep repeating step 4 until you have reached about 65 words. My sweet spot 65. If you do slightly less, that's not too bad. Now, what do we need to check? You're going to check your spelling and your grammar only. You're not going to search for logic. You're not going to say, actually, he didn't mean that. It doesn't matter. Okay? You are not looking for logic or accuracy of information. In this situation, grammar absolutely matters. You need to pay attention to grammar and spelling. Okay? So, not far to go, not much more to go, guys. Okay? We're getting to the end. We're getting to the end. Let's move on to the next question type. Highlight incorrect words. I love this because I think of karaoke songs, and I think I definitely did a toot on this. You can go and check it out. It's still valid, it still works. It's just that we now need to know how important this question type is. Okay? Again, this is towards the end of the exam. Right from dictation is the very last. This is the second last question type. Okay? 13% to your final reading score and only 8% to your final listening score. It is important because, again, a lot of you are struggling with reading, right? And you're going, oh, I've spent so much time on reading, fill in the blanks. Drop down, drag and drop. Did you spend time on highlight incorrect words? 13% of your final score comes from this. Okay? You'll have to do this question type 2 to 3 times. What will you hear? You will hear a recording of 15 to 50 seconds, and the matching transcript will be on the screen in front of you. While listening and reading simultaneously, you need to select the words that are incorrect. A lot of the time, they sound very similar. Instead of saying person, they'll say proportion. Okay, instead of saying, sometimes they could even change the grammar. It could be animated instead of animate. Okay, or animation, right? So they sound quite similar, but they are definitely different. All right. You're going to click on the incorrect word, and it will be highlighted yellow. Right. This is where it is really important to understand how you are marked, because negative marking comes into play here. For every incorrect word that you highlight, -1. For every correct word that you highlight, +1. Right? So let's say out of 5 words, you got 4 out of 5 correct, right? So there's 4 here, and then you've got the 5th one was an incorrect word that you wrongly highlighted. It will minus, and you end up getting 3 instead of 4 out of 5. Do you understand what I mean? Does it make sense? I think I might have to do a demo. All right. So what is the method? And I love this method because you think about it as karaoke singing. Okay. As soon as the question appears, you begin reading instructions, and then you quickly skim the text. Right? You're going, and it's not really important to understand the text. Just go, okay, this text is about dogs. All right? You're going to prepare your mouse cursor. As soon as the recording starts, your cursor is going to move along with the words that you hear. Now, this is where practice comes into play, because you have to train your eyes to not move faster than the recording. Your eyes should not be jumping ahead at all. Your eyes and the cursor, so your eyes and your hands and the recording all match. So my cursor is moving along with my eyes and the recording. When I see something that doesn't match, click and move on. I never look back. There's no reason to look back, and it's very unlikely that you have made a big mistake, right? So the instant that you read or hear a word that does not match, you click on it and keep moving. No backwards movements, no changing your mind while the recording is playing. As the recording continues, your mouse cursor and your eyes follow along, and you will notice that there are usually 5 to 6 words that will be incorrect in each text. Here's the reality of it. There is rarely a reason to check your answers, right? The incorrect words should be chosen while you listen, so if you didn't catch them, just give up and move on. Click next as soon as the recording is done and move on. Don't waste time and don't try to add words because of the negative marking, right? But there are some general rules. Only single words are highlighted, they are never groups of words together, and incorrect words will never appear right next to each other. Okay? So if you've clicked 2 words in a row, one of them is definitely wrong. Okay? Are we at the end yet? We are! Oh my goodness, we are at the end. Okay, let's talk about listening fill in the blanks, the one where you type in the answer. Again, this is where spelling comes into play. You need to know how to spell to a certain extent, right? It contributes 8% to your final listening score. It is a pure listening question. You will have to listen to a recording of 30 to 60 seconds, so less than a minute, right? And on the screen, you will see the transcript of the audio recording with some words missing in these. So these are the blanks that you need to fill up. You are required to type in the missing words, right? You will have to do this question type 2 to 3 times, right? Before the recording starts playing, you are given 7 seconds to prep. All you got to do is look at the text, locate the blanks, just know what you're doing, right? You need to have excellent listening, spelling, and time management skills. And I'll talk about it in a second. Unlike highlight incorrect words, this one is similar to write from dictation, where it's +1 for each correct word that you type. Okay? So, spelling matters, except when it's American versus British. Okay? That one they'll accept both types. So if you wrote color as COLOR versus COLOUR, both are correct. But any other type of mistake, not okay. All right, so what's the method? Righto. So before the recording starts, I want you to quickly just look through the text, locate the blanks, and get a general idea of context. So if it's about the environment, you just go, okay, I get it, it's about environment. You're going to prepare your mouse cursor in the first gap. As soon as you hear the recording start, you again are going to follow along as it is read out. When you hear the word, you're going to type it out. It doesn't matter if it's partial, misspelled, single letters, typos, everything at this stage is totally fine. Okay? No deletions, no backspaces, no space bars when the recording is happening, right? You are going to then move your cursor to the next gap as soon as you can and continue following the text as you hear it. I find that a lot of students will put out their left hand and touch the screen and follow with the screen. It's totally fine. Who cares if you get smudges on the screen? It's not your computer screen. Go ahead and touch the screen and follow along. Nobody's going to stop you. Okay? So that means your mouse cursor is ready. You are ready to type. Okay? You're going to repeat steps 3 to 5 until the recording is finished. You do not make corrections or guesses while someone is talking or while the recording is playing. Okay? Once it has finished, then we take a deep breath and we're going to go back to each blank and we're going to correct the spelling or type in the full word or guess if you have to. Right? How do we guess? Guess something that seems grammatically correct. All right? So, how do we check this question? You're going to check that you spelled the word correctly, and if you are really lost and cannot remember what the correct word was, you're going to guess. But how do we guess? You're going to insert a word that feels grammatically correct and seems logical. All right? I would rather you fill in something and have a chance at being correct than leave it empty and have zero chance of being correct. Right? I don't want you to waste too much time. If you are unsure or can't remember how to spell a word, just type whatever you can and move on. Okay? Just move on. Right? Remember that you want to give yourself a chance at being correct and that there is no negative marking. Whatever you write in there, no one's going to take away marks from you. Okay? So, there you have it, folks. I hope that we have covered, well, I no, it's not a hope. I did cover it. We have covered all the important question types for listening. We have focused on listening, and what I think I might do is actually do a full-on mock test for you on Ape Uni, and then we'll see how we go with all the techniques that I've taught you. Right? I strongly believe in my techniques, and I strongly believe in content. Yes, I want you to improve your English, but the most important thing is that you start paying attention to things like when is my grammar important and when is my grammar unimportant. Okay? Overall, you're going to slowly improve your English while you're doing these things. I do find that students improve their English far better when they're preparing for IELTS, whereas PTE they're just looking for